Okay, well, look, we're going to thank you for that, Mark. But we're going to finish today with a little bit of an amusing story, I suppose we could say, in a certain sense, and that's this, because the UK column has been reporting on the narrative building by successive British regimes for war in the Arctic since around 2016, and if you use the search function on the UK column website and just put the word Arctic in, you'll see all the reporting that we've done over the years. Now, the narrative goes a lot like this. Climate change is opening up the northwestern and northeastern passages for navigation and resource exploitation, and that this is causing competition with Russia and China for navigation and mineral rights. Now, this is largely for example, what's behind Trump's claims on Canada and Greenland in recent months. Now, yesterday, the BBC finally caught up, although rather than challenging the narrative, they naturally support it. But they published this article: "The struggle for control of the Arctic is accelerating and it's riskier than ever," which is really quite a coincidence because just a few hours prior to the BBC publishing their article, a screening was held. Oh, right. Okay. So I've just blown that, but a screening was held for a documentary produced by someone who has worked very closely with the BBC for many years. That's David Bailey. Well, Patrick and I attended the screening. The film was a complete propaganda piece, I think it's fair to say. Patrick, or do you think I'm unfair in saying that?
It did appear that way, very pro-military, about the, almost saying we need to militarize the Arctic to counter the Russian threat and the Chinese, who are both up to no good. And so we need to pour lots of resources into the Arctic because this is the new front line in the new sort of not so Cold War.
And lots of imagery like this. This is just a short excerpt from it. Now, this film has yet to be released in the UK, although it has been released in other European countries, including those in the Arctic region. But the message very much is that both sides, by that I mean the West and Russia and China, are arming. Now, one of the things that, though I found quite strange in the narrative that was being presented, was, of course, the reason for this, Patrick, is that climate change means that, in fact, we have easy navigation across the Arctic region and so on, and it's therefore possible to get places, not only to get places, but to exploit the raw materials, as we're saying. And so that's on one hand, and yet on the other hand, they're busy talking about the fact that China and Russia, well, China in particular, are investing huge amounts of money building icebreakers. Like they're going out of fashion, and so the question is, how do these two positions stack up? Because it seems to me that if the ice is melting and we're heading towards an ice-free Arctic, then there's no need for icebreakers.
Well, I think not yet, because there is no ice-free Arctic, and Al Gore was promising an ice-free Arctic. You remember the inconvenient truth back in 2005, basically saying that it'll be ice-free by like 2010 or something like that. Anyway, here we are in 2025. It's still not ice-free, and the definition of ice-free, according to the experts, isn't no ice. It's less than 1 million
square
miles of ice cover. And so if you look at the work of Tony Heller at Real Climate Science, or Piers Corbin and some of these other, what you might call climate skeptics, you'll note that there is still heavy ice cover most of the year in the Arctic. And it's only during certain times in the summer where certain passages are opening up. And again, we don't want to get into the climate debate, but ergo, the thesis is because it's melting, Russia is ramping up its military activity to take over the resources of the Arctic. But there's no one saying that isn't the reason Russia's remilitarizing is because of the NATO expansion into Finland and Sweden, and let's say the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline and a few other things. And they'll say, no, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's because of Ukraine that NATO has expanded, because somehow what happened in Ukraine means that Sweden and Finland are under threat. So that's the logic. And I'm sorry, but this is just
doesn't stack up.
It's disingenuous at best. This is the same type of circular logic you see at every level of the NATO strata, and certainly our media has bought into that narrative. So the reality is, this type of a film, these types of stories in the BBC are sending a clear message, Mike, which is that war is coming. war is inevitable. There's no chance for diplomacy. We can't compromise with the Russians or the Chinese, and because they're up to no good as well.
Absolutely.
And so there's no diplomatic track. So get ready for war. But yet Europe is not wanting to actually fight with Russia because they're afraid to even send any troops into Ukraine. Why is that? Because they don't want to fight Russia. They want Ukraine to be the proxy, and they want to keep making money on all the defense industry contracts and so forth that are causing defense stocks in Europe to go through the roof. If you have a stock portfolio with any of those companies, and you know what I'm talking about. So there's money to be made here. These are good jobs, good defense jobs, they call them. You remember? Just
Yes,
like
absolutely.
good green jobs. Do you remember that? Good green jobs. Well, now it's forget the Green New Deal. Now it's the
Defense New
it's
Deal.
the Defense New Deal. Good defense jobs. So they want to remilitarize and mobilize society to fight a war that, let's face it, Europe's not really interested in fighting. And they would require American backup to do it anyway, while America is receding from the European theater. But hey, let's make some money along the way. And it's a great distraction from all the real problems in this country, in Europe, and in the region, not to mention an increasing wealth gap, which is going to increase even more with these types of agendas, Mike. So resilience, it's all about resilience.
Absolutely.
Defense resilience.
Absolutely. And as I say, this is just the latest salvo in a narrative that's been building for several years now, which we've been tracking. So do have a look at the UK Column website for the history of this. Okay, let's leave it there for today. I'm going to say thank you very much to Matt Campbell for joining us. Thank you to Mark and Patrick, of course, and thank you for everybody that's been watching. We'll be back in a few minutes if you're UK Column members for UK Column News Extra. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and we'll see you at 1 p.m. as usual on Monday. See you then. Bye-bye.